All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Community Development, Housing, and General Government Committee meeting, August, what's today?
15, 14.
August the 14th, 2023. As you know, we didn't meet in August. Our agendas for committees are relatively stacked in the month of June and the month of August. So today, this one is pretty, I'd say it's about middle of the road. What would you say, Vice Chair? You think it's long? Yeah, well, we got 6 consent items and we got 7 general agenda items. At this time, I have already asked the committee and the council were there any items that they needed to pull. C1, C2, C3, and C5. Are there any other items? We only had
Anything left?
2 more left. I mean,
I move approval of the balance.
Second.
it's been moved and probably seconded for the approval of the consent agenda. Will you all vote, please? Thank you. And it's approved. Would the city clerk please call the first item? And today we have all of our committee members here, Councilmember Monday, Vice Chair Scipio, Councilmember Clark, and myself. Go ahead.
Item C1, resolution authorizing the purchase of property in support of the city's affordable housing objectives, in addition to the provision of workforce housing with a primary focus on homeownership.
Mr. King? Good to see you.
Good to see you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. I'm glad to just give a quick summary or if there's a specific question, I can try to respond to that as well.
Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. You may remember back, I think it was in the fall, winter of last year, there was an item that came before council where funding was allocated to acquire vacant properties, and we'll call it the east of Cleveland area. That's 25th, Bowen, 14th, and Cleveland, in that area. We got to work with a third-party broker to send out notices to those owners to see who was interested in selling their property. We have had mild success to this point. I think we've brought 2 lots to this council for approval to purchase. This would be, I believe, the third. It's a nominal fee of $2,420. And I'm glad to answer any questions.
Councilman McIntosh.
So refresh my memory, the original intent of this was to amass a certain amount of property in a fairly defined geographic area to make an impact. We've acquired, this is our 3rd property, and we have, to my knowledge, done a pretty good job of canvassing the ownership of the area and gotten 3 positive responses. At what point does it behoove us to take that $500,000 and use it elsewhere? I'm not asking you, I'm asking City Council, to put it to work immediately where it can come actually build some units versus a very, very slow roll of acquiring individual lots. So we have become pretty good as a council, I believe, in setting shot clocks on external deals. I think we need to be conscious of doing that internally as well, because if this rule takes 5 years to roll out, it won't have done what it was intended to do or had the impact that what I was looking for when I voted for it. So that's, I don't know if that's a comment or question.
Did you want to respond, Mr. King? I mean, I know you probably you're like, what you asking me for?
That's right. What I can speak to is we have gone through about 2 or 3 efforts of sending letters out. Our broker has sent the first batch out. Again, not a lot of interest. Sent a second batch out. I don't know how much more success we're going to have along the way on acquiring these parcels. We've had very limited success so far. So I guess staff would just need some direction at what point we stop sending letters out and call it in terms of acquiring the vacant parcels.
Councilmember Burke.
Thank you. I don't think at this point we're talking about $2,420. That's not a lot of money when you start to talk about $1 million. This is an area that we're just beginning to transform. So it's in its early stages. And we are working hard. We have a lot of people here tonight to talk about the progress in that area that they have really been working diligently on. I think we need to stay the course and let's see what kind of transformation we can have take place in this area. It's a slow process. We're building brand new houses on city-owned lots. We're working right now with about 4 builders who have an interest in building, and we'll be bringing those requests to council coming up very, very soon. We also have a revitalization program going on right now for owner-occupied residents. We have an aggressive code enforcement initiative going on. The residents in this area came out to 3 community meetings regarding all that is taking place and that will take place in this area, and all of the meetings that we held were packed. And the interest is there, and I think to pull out and pull away now, especially in an area where no investment, where there has been no investment for years, is not the route that we want to go at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McIntosh and Councilmember Clark, Councilmember Scipio, Councilmember Larson. Everybody want to speak? Okay, go ahead.
I have no problem with the aims of the overall big picture aims, which is what I just heard. What I have a problem with is the particular solution that we're offered here, this particular strategy. Doesn't appear to have worked very well so far. How much leash do we give it before we say we're better off using our funds in other manners?
Councilmember Clark.
One quick question and a general comment. Are you sending letters only to vacant lots or to all property owners?
Vacant lots.
Okay. Might be worth looking at, Ms. Burke, maybe some of the houses that maybe we want to improve on or something, see if they are for sale. Anyway, just quick.
Thank
A
you.
general comment to Ms. Tony. Pretty much everything we're going to talk about tonight has to do with allocating funds, this just being the first. It would be helpful, and you don't need to do it tonight, but to keep a running total, and let's talk about the 500,000 or the ARPA or whatever. What we're starting off with, and as we use it, kind of listed on there, because I want to be sure we know what the balance is as we go forward, because there's, as I said, I've got 6 tonight that are getting money from some source. This one happens to be asking for it from 2018 bonds. Well, how much is in the bond bucket and how much is left, and just in general. Thank you.
Councilmember Scipio, did you have your hand up?
I did.
And then Councilmember Larson, then Monday.
I want to let my colleagues here on the council know that you must understand that the East Ward, the Northeast Ward, and Southeast Wards aren't like the rest of the city. We have people who are absent. There's air property, lots of vacant. Those lots oftentimes got vacant because the city came in and demolished them. And people then said, what's to do with this? Now you're asking them to sell it back, not at a price that is really indicative of a vibrant neighborhood. So we have to be patient, and we've got to be tolerant. We've got to plant the seed of what's going on and let it grow, because they are not aware and they don't trust the city. And we have to be patient. So if you have to, and some of them are absent. They don't live in the neighborhoods anymore. They may not even live in the town. So you have to be patient and tolerant to let a vision come to pass. It's not something that all of a sudden, come over here and buy my property. I'll buy your property. And they're supposed to jump at it. So I believe we have to let it work for a reasonable period of time. I'm not certain what that time should be, but I don't think we've been at this a year yet. And I think it's been just a few months. So nobody's jumping to just sell their property. There are all kinds of considerations that we have to make about our property, even if it's only valued at $2,400. It was mama's property, it was daddy's property. Why should I sell it to you? What are you going to do with it? We're such special people. We're very special and unique in the East Ward and the Northeast Ward. We're not like everybody else because we're so special and magnificent. And I ask you to let our visions and our ideas get seated, rooted, and then grow. I know it's going to work, but the other recourse is what's always done historically. Just condemn it and take it. But that's disrespectful. That property's been empty probably 58 years or more. Now, unless we're willing to go and say, let's build on this, we're going to help you build a house on it, give that to the community. But right now, let's see if it'll work. Let's try it. Because I know that at some point I might want to do this in the East Ward because we're under the same pattern. But we've got lots of things we're going to try and bring to the council. And I'm going to ask you to listen, to be patient, and to think out of the box. We have to be progressive in this city. We have not been progressive since we tore down East Winston in 68, 69, and demolished the houses that were decent. So we need to be progressive. And to be progressive, you have to say, it's not what I would do, but what could be done. So I ask us to be tolerant.
Thank you, Councilmember Scipio. Councilmember Larson.
I think it's basically been said, but we allocated in December, was it 500,000?
Patrice says yes.
500,000 in December, and you say we have 3 properties now? Is that what we?
Two. I stand corrected. This is 2.
This is number 3, or this is number 2?
This is number 2.
So we've spent less than $10,000 so far. Yeah, but clearly the idea here was to do a lot of infill. We already own property in the neighborhood. We've been trying to cobble together enough property to make a positive statement. I'd agree that a year is hardly worth worrying about at this point. Let it sit on this and keep going with it. I do suggest we maybe make some positive and aggressive offers. I don't know how we're approaching these people.
It might be worth the city attorney commenting on what limits we have in terms of offers we can make to these potential sellers.
Good afternoon. Based upon state law, we're generally looking at purchasing the property for either appraised value or tax value. And so we've got to operate within the constraints of the state statute in terms of how much we spend for the property. We've had some discussions, somewhat in closed session, about some leeway with respect to that, but very little.
So it's basically tax value is what we're tied into?
For those vacant lots that don't have much value, I think we're looking at the tax value based upon the appraisal that was done by the tax assessor. I guess the last time the reappraisal was done. And for the larger lots that have greater value, we have looked at obtaining an appraisal report.
So is condemnation an option?
It's possible. However, it's my understanding that is not desired by council. So I've not looked at that in great detail.
That would change the market value, though, would it not?
We would use an appraisal report to determine the fair market value of the property and have to put that value in court once we actually file the condemnation. So it may, I doubt it'll change it much.
I think we continue to work with the neighborhood and try to get volunteer sales, but I do think we need to allow time for it to happen. And it's important to get a massing of housing stock available there, vacant land or whatever, to do the kind of transformation that we've been talking about, and we're going to need some time to do that. So let's
Have you finished, Councilmember Larson?
Yes, I am.
Councilmember Monday, did you have a comment?
This is a request actually for an administrative request. I had a hard time finding where the funding was coming from for this. Could we put that in the CAR for, make it easier to find so that when we're looking at any request that's to approve funding, we know where it's coming from? I would appreciate that much.
And Councilmember Monday and others, I have asked for that for years, that when people come to us for money, we need to treat it just like we do economic development. Economic development, before I got on the council, you were just told. And we asked for a punch list that shows us what the money's going to be used for, who's asking for it, how many jobs, what's this? Is this a new tax, regressive tax, whatever. I've asked for this with every project, so at least, particularly in community development housing, because we have all these stacks of money, and it's not a lot, people, don't get it twisted, it's not. But it's up to the council to know if we're pulling down money in a home fund or a CBDG fund or whatever, we need to know how much money is left in the account instead of entertaining requests and we really don't know. And then we get people that call us that ask for things. Well, you all have the money. Well, we may, but I don't know how much that is, so got to get with staff. So heard on that. One of the things that I want council to know, a few years ago, the council, it was longer than that, maybe almost 9-10 years, this council used to allot money for projects with nonprofits and others, and we would vote to give the money, but there was no timeline in the project formation. There were people that would have monies for 4, 5, 8, 10 years. Your money that we voted on, and they hadn't started their project yet. I suggested to this council and staff that we have timelines in these requests for funding. Because if an emergency situation comes up, that we need to act accordingly to do something in a community or whatever. And you've got these millions sitting over here that you voted on, and there's no language in that resolution or documentation that says that we can pull this money. This group will get the money. But right now, they need to go work on their project, how to get it started. So the money can be allocated as needed to other critical needs in this community. I, for one, as many of you know, I will not be held hostage by different groups and people. If there is an emergency situation or another idea or plan comes to the table, the councils consider it, but then we find out that we don't have the necessary funding, but there's this bucket of money over here that's been sitting here for 5 to 10 years, and nobody has been able to access it or utilize it when we got this greatest need over here now. So again, looking forward to the new city manager coming and the ideas that he gonna bring, working with this council to help us craft the language we need to ensure the equity, diversity, inclusion, the needs, and every process and asks are handled and reviewed the same. Councilmember Burke, Councilmember Clark, and then we're going to end discussion because I got a long agenda. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. King, can you tell us, I know that council voted and approved this in December, but when did we actually get our representative to start to mail and make contact with property owners? It didn't happen right away.
That's right, Councilor Burke. I'm looking at Travis, and I was thinking it was probably late January, early February before those first letters went out to property owners.
I thought it was even later than that. I thought we had some illness that held us back even longer.
I can look and see. I believe the broker we were working with had an issue in his family that he was dealing with that caused a small delay in there, but it was, we'll call it February-ish, probably somewhere in that range.
Or March-ish.
Could have been.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Clark.
This does come out of 2018 affordable housing bond is listed in the resolution, and I'll move approval of the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion for approval and seconded. Would you all be prepared to vote when the screen comes up? Thank you. City Clerk, please call, it passes. City Clerk, please call the next item.
Item C2, request for a public hearing on an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinances to add graphic illustrating various ordinance provisions, UDO CC 24.
Mr. Murphy.
Good
Who's the
afternoon.
gentleman you have to your right?
This is Dan Ryan. He is actually the person who did the graphics.
All right.
I do know you have a lot of items on the agenda. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the committee, and other members of council. Just a brief history. We worked on the UDO Clear Code, which was the update to the UDO in 17, 18, 19. Council and the commissioners adopted it in 19 for an effective date of January 1 of 2020. In the fall of 2020, we brought forward the first set of enhanced graphics, that consisted of 24 graphics that kind of set the style set for what we were going to do going forward. This is the second iteration of that. These either replace outdated graphics that are in the ordinance. They are new graphics that illustrate concepts better. These graphics don't change any of the requirements of the ordinance, but just do a better job of trying to explain what those are. So with that, I'll be happy to entertain any question as far as why the item was pulled. If I can, if I can't, then I'll turn to Dan, who perhaps will actually have the answer to the question.
Thank you, Dan. Councilman Mundy.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. I want to salute you for doing this because I've come across a number of times that the citizens that we're communicating with don't get our communication. And Mr. Murphy and I have talked about this on kind of the way some of our codes our descriptions are written. Sometimes our citizens jump to conclusions and make assumptions that if we did a better job of explaining, we can't necessarily change the way those codes are worded, but we can do a better job of explaining. And I've looked at some of our other communication that goes out to citizens, like when we cite them for overgrown yards and so forth, that I just think that it's written on too high a level. The average American reads on the 7th to 8th grade level. I asked 4 people if they knew what the word abatement meant. And these are college-educated people. One person knew. So I think we need to get away from engineering jargon and zoning jargon and legal jargon and just talk to people in a way that they would understand. And this is a great step in that direction.
Could you guys give us, thank you, Councilman Mundy, could you give us a quick 1 minute, 2 minute of what the visuals look, changes or the, is there anything in there that you can show?
Show us a picture.
Yeah, show us a picture to the listening audience or the viewing audience that just gives an example. If not, we're okay. We can do it Monday if needed.
And it is in our materials.
I couldn't
But
find
I was
it.
I
wondering.
thought it was.
It is. It's long.
It's there.
If not, we can do that Monday.
It's the second item on the right.
Is it going
on the
Monday?
attachments.
ORD.
Let me help you, Chris.
Just a long one.
Yeah, the 134 pages.
But
Is it right here?
for some of you that remember that was on the council in 2018, this came before us early. And again, I got to give it to the planning department and the team.
Just keep in mind, this is 134.
I know, I know. We could, but see,
I want to go over every one of them. Yeah.
but we got it. If you
He's
don't
going to
have
stay afterwards for that.
Okay, right,
There we go.
little assignment in the evening. Unfortunately, I don't quite have the page numbers in these. I can give these as an example. This is a good example of the visual style that staff had previously established for that initial round of 24 graphics that Chris had mentioned. That was previously approved in the fall of 2020. It's a kind of a semi-3D visual style. And this graphic, I believe, shows the allowed architectural features that are allowed in required yards. So there's a few of these because there's just so many different ones. This is another one that relates to that. Here, I'll just I hate to just start rifling through these at random. This is many of the graphics show this. This is an example of the requirements within individual zoning districts, in this case, the mobile homes. So there are many graphics that show these. And altogether, I don't know if Chris mentioned this, there are 93 of these, so I don't want to show these to all of you.
And you don't have to, but let's say Monday night, if you would be so gracious as to at least show the example, and I know it's in there, of ADUs, accessory dwellings with the setbacks and all of that and what it's supposed to look like. Because that's something very relevant now that our constituency and citizenry, they have heard ADUs or tiny house or a granny dwelling or something. Is there anything in there that shows a picture, a graphic of that, of what an ADU would look like against the new?
Mayor Pro Tem Adams, I think that went through as part of the accessory dwelling unit UDO text amendment from, that was about a year ago or so now. I think there were a couple graphics that went with that.
That would be very helpful.
Just to clarify, these are not going Monday night. These will go at your Tuesday, September 5th meeting.
That'll work. Councilmember Scipio. I'm easy today.
Just for clarification, I don't know if the public knows, this is that great big book that has all those ordinances, the big old book we have, it's about this big, and these are part of the revisions to that.
Correct. Fortunately, that real big book has gotten a lot smaller, and it lives online now, so we actually don't even have printed copies of this book anymore. We only use the online version, but that was what we did with the change to UDO Clear Code back in 2019, was to simplify the language, make it shorter, so it lives online currently.
So we need to shred that book, the one I have.
I would.
I'll defer to the city attorney as far as disposition of documents, but it's not anything, it's, our ordinance is totally online now.
Yeah.
Hand it over to the city clerk.
Okay, thank you.
And again, the Councilmember Scipio, when I came on the council in '09 and the city attorney and planning brought me this big book, that thick, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? They said, well, those are all the city ordinances, and I'm supposed to read this? Oh, we started reading it, but after about the 20 pages, I told them I didn't understand a word they were talking about.
Tell her that's a separate book.
Hence, in 2016, 17, and planning and staff got together and they recognized, along with the county, that we needed to go to the next. And that was the visualization of ordinances and things that developers and citizens deal with. When you're getting ready to build that extra onto your house, you're getting ready to do something with your property, what can you do with it? And what we did is we made it more visual. We put some colors in there, some bolded lettering. We got all the bells and whistles that if you want to find it, it is so much easier to find online. And once you find it, you can understand it better than what you did. Councilmember Clark.
Move approval of C2.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please do so by voting. All those opposed as well. Thank you. City Clerk, please call the next item.
Item C3, resolution authorizing award of $45,000 in CARES Act Community Development Block Grant funds to the United Way of Forsyth County, Inc.
Ms. McClain.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the committee, and other members of the council. So C3 is a request to provide $45,000 of CDBG CV funds for homelessness prevention and diversion assistance. So this money would be to the United Way. So this money would be used for direct assistance to those who are experiencing homelessness, direct assistance for rental payments, utility payments, bus tickets, airlines tickets, anything that they can provide to prevent homelessness.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Councilmember Larson.
Yes, I asked that question. I asked that. So is United Way a gatekeeper for other agencies dealing with homelessness?
They are the gatekeeper for this type of funding when you're talking about diversion assistance. So yes, they are our intake lead.
Pass through, basically.
Is this 45, is this actually going to pay for the administration of that program, or is it going to actually to the homeless?
It's going to be it's going to pay for things like rental assistance and utility payments. It'll be direct assistance
for quantification or for measuring results of the investment. Mm-hmm. When do we see a final report then of how this money is spent?
We typically do an annual report. Am I correct?
So we'll see the results of this investment, this additional investment in United Way, will show us how we dealt with homelessness with this money.
Yes.
That's what I would like to see at the end of the day, whenever the
Okay.
report is safe.
And we also hired a consultant that is going to review our COC plan and the procedures and the policies. They're going to speak with all of our agencies, our partnering agencies, to ensure that we are successful, that we are making progress as it relates to preventing homelessness.
Right. It's a tough topic, and
Yes.
I'd like to see results.
Well, everybody does, Councilmember Larson. But, and then I'm going to get you, Councilmember Scipio. Thank you, Assistant Manager Tony, for sending that information to me today. Would you please have the city attorney to forward it to all of the council members so they can read it and become aware of what this letter says? Again, Ms. McClain, the COC, again, I'm glad we hired a consultant. I'm glad we did the review and the study. But as I asked Ms. Tony, I'm like, again, particularly with our homeless and most marginalized group of people, and that includes veterans and single moms, physically, mentally challenged children, that I think, as everybody knows, that we are not doing enough. We putting enough money in it, but somehow or another, and that's why we need help. Because unless other people are willing to come to the table, in the next couple of weeks, I'm having a meeting with 4 or 5 people in the community who are considered, in my book, subject experts on homelessness and their programs and what they do. They are ready, Councilmember Larson. They said, we got to do something different. Just like we did with shots fired and all of that and Bear. We got to take this one to the next level, because this issue is not going to minimize. It's not going away. And everybody can say, well, we need more housing. Well, that's not going to happen right away either. But there are people out there with other ideas as to how we can be better at serving our homeless population as to where we are now. Now we're hearing a lot about the encampments. People call them tent cities, but they're encampments. And I think we're going to see some different things in the near future. Councilmember Scipio.
Yeah, just for clarification, these funds are from our normal allocation of CBG dollars?
Well, the CV dollars were the coronavirus dollars, and so we still have some money that won't expire until 2026.
And this is not all that we have left. We have a lot more we can use.
We do. We have about $684,000 that's left. We set aside $600,000 for affordable housing. Those are items that will come to you. They have not been approved yet. We just set that money aside. So basically, we've got about $84,000.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Burke, and after Councilmember Burke, I'd like to have a motion. Y'all got 5 more minutes on this one. Go ahead, Councilmember Burke.
Thank you. The individuals that you plan to meet with regarding this issue, do they have any data for the effectiveness of what they have been doing in regard to homelessness?
What we're doing is we're having a discussion. That's what it's all about. When somebody has an idea of how to get to the next or a new project launch, in manufacturing, first we got to think about the idea, and everybody brainstorm as to the what, the why, and how we get it done. So that's the discussion. We're having a discussion.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you said they were experts. Okay.
And some of them are, but we're just having a discussion. Okay? Anything else?
Quick comment.
Councilmember Monday.
We know that as rents continue to go up, people are literally living in the streets, and our homeless numbers are going up. I've had several people contact me by email telling me that the city council needs to put a rent cap. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've said before, the state does not give us that authority. So we cannot do that. Just this is for the general public's knowledge. We don't have the authority to do that.
That is correct.
Thank you. Has the motion been put on the floor? Can I have a motion?
Somebody else was going
I move approval.
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. And as the screen comes up, all those in favor vote aye. All of those opposed vote no. And the motion passes. City Clerk, please call the next item on the consent and the last.
C5, information on defined contribution retirement plan changes.
Kelly Latham? Nope. Okey dokey.
Can somebody call real quick? She might be upstairs.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Taylor,
Mr. Taylor. we
he
can
could give
call
us
him
some insight, just some insight, because everybody basically knows what this is about.
I just had one question.
And ask your question, Councilmember.
Okay, my question was, these changes, apparently the city has several kinds of retirement plans, the regular 401, the police 401, the police 457. So my question is, with these changes, is everything equitable in all of these funds for all employees?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
That's what the changes do.
Where'd you come from?
He was back there.
That's a loaded question. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, and members of the committee. Yes, the answer to your question is it will continue to be equitable. All of the funds that are in specifically these plans, they are all allocated according to the way that our investment advisors basically see what is best for the plan. So the vast majority of our investment dollars are going into stable value funds, and then employees do have the option to log in and say, well, I want my money to be invested differently. So we are continuing to explore how can we teach employees how to go in and to take control of their own investment dollars. But again, the vast majority of our investment portfolio are in those stable value funds.
So, just so for clarity, all participants in our funds would have the ability to do what these changes say, to roll outside retirement account assets into their plans.
That is correct.
Or to allow hardship distributions.
Yes.
So all employees in the city who are participants in our retirement plans will then have that ability.
Who are participants in whatever that particular plan is, whatever the requirements are for that plan. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I just want to make sure that they're all equitable for all employees. So with that, I move for approval.
It's just information.
It's information.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Be back in September.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barnett. Would the clerk please call the first item on the general agenda?
Item G1, update on the American Rescue Plan Act, Enabled Framework and Transformational Grants Program.
Ms. Oliva,
Good afternoon.
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Mayor Pro Tem Adams, Vice Chair Scipio, members of the committee and council. I'm Tiffany Oliva, Director of Intergovernmental Affairs and Strategic Initiatives, and I'm here to provide you with a general update on the overview of the framework and then also hone in a little bit on some of our transformational grant programs. So as you all will recall, we received a total of $51.7 million in American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Funding, bit of a mouthful. And in January 2023, the City Council approved taking the Treasury Allowed Revenue Replacement Method. We had already claimed $31 million in revenue replacement by that time. We added an additional 18, so that brought the full total to $49 million in revenue replacement dollars. And so doing so enabled the city to more effectively partner with our community agencies and also more easily work with our city departments without as heavy federal compliance burden.
Ms. Oliva,
Yes.
I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago in Rocky Mount, and one of the things, they had a panel discussion about the ARPA money, and particularly for small towns or any of us, how important, if you're not having updates at least every month, every 2 months, you could find yourselves in a quandary. So I appreciate that you guys have been reporting to us, and we know we'll see more as we go forward as to how these nonprofits and others are spending down the money in the programs that they're providing. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so looking at the framework, this is an overview of the framework as a whole. You all have seen this before. You'll notice that about half of our funding we've put in a housing assistance set aside. 10.5 went to social and economic assistance, and this is specifically the transformational grant program. And then 10% about went to city fund restoration. I'm not going to go through all of these lines, but you can see that we've obligated our full $51.7 million to a bucket or to some program. I also wanted to note that we are working to put this into a packet paper format the way you first saw it when we originally brought the framework forward to you all, so we'll provide that at a later time as well. This breaks down the transformational grants, so the 10.5 million, and also parts of the 24.4 million in the housing set aside. So you can see that we obligated 10.5 million to 15 projects, 15 transformational grant projects. And so far, we've allocated 7.5 million of the 24.4 million to 7 projects. And there are actually 2 items on the agenda today, one an info item and one an action item that will also obligate potentially funds from the housing assistance set aside as well. Give me 1 second. Apologies. So that slide didn't work exactly how I want to, so I have to open the PDF version, unfortunately. But what I was going to show you is this slide, which is a Power BI dashboard, which is available now on our city site. And so it shows different views of how our funds are being spent. And so this particular view is view 2 and shows out of the 51.7 million how that funding has been spent within each of the strategic plan categories. And so you can see we've obligated 30.3 in tier 1 of the strategic plan. This is view 1 of that dashboard, and so this specifically goes into all of the projects, how much each project was funded, how much has been expended to date, percent expended, and what the project status is, and also goes over that strategic plan alignment and date of city council approval. And so it is a live dashboard. I think something this dashboard will do, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, is give you some of that information on how these funds have been spent, so you all can easily track that as well. We've also been providing, and
May I ask a question? On the strategic plan alignment, is this correct that we spent more for tier 3 than we did for tier 2?
This is correct.
Thank you.
We've also been providing monthly updates on how much has been dispersed specifically through the transformational grants in once a month in the weekly updates that you all receive. So I want to point out that this is a preliminary version of the dashboard. We are going to work on some updates to it. For example, we have the project name, but we're going to be sure to list the organization name as well, add a feature that shows when the dashboard was last updated, add project descriptions. We're also looking to put the performance measures per project on there, so you'll be able to see what measures and outcomes people are hoping to achieve and how they're tracking on that. We also will be looking to enhance the mobile view of it so folks can interact and interface with it better from their cell phones. And just for the residents watching, I wanted to point out that you could access the dashboard by going to cityofws.org, clicking on the Residents tab, and then clicking on American Rescue Plan Act Recovery Fund. So that's the overview of the framework as a whole. Now drilling into the transformational grants. I don't think many of you have met them, so I just wanted to introduce you to the folks who've been working with our transformational grantees, if they could stand.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And so this is Tunay Fabian and Zachary Miller. They're both fiscal recovery grants analysts, and so they each have a portfolio of our transformational grants that they're working on.
Thank you.
And they started in January, so they're about a little over 6 months in. Time is flying.
Yeah.
So these are our 15 grantees. And we also recently did a survey with our grantees to see what their experience has been so far with the service we've been providing, our ability to answer questions. And I just wanted to give kudos to Tanae and Zachary because they've really been receiving positive feedback on how we've been managing the grant program and helping organizations to spruce up their reporting and performance capabilities. This slide points out view 3 of the dashboard, and so this provides a grant chart of anticipated start, end dates for each of the projects and how we're tracking on those projects. And just some general updates. So some of our projects are still in their early stages. Others have already begun reporting on what they've achieved so far. I've pointed out a few here. So Old Salem has opened up 9 buildings so far, and they're on track to increase the number of visitors and school tours and paid attendance, and have been able to maintain steady and consistent hours. Imprints Cares, what you see here is outlined related to summer programs, but I also want to point out that what we funded related to Imprints Cares enabled them to make capital investments, or is enabling them to make capital investments in their Family Resource Center. Acción Hispana is one I'm particularly excited about. They've just completed their discovery phase, and they're currently working with the Human Relations DEI department to make sure that that work continues forward in alignment. And the Proyecto Mariposa project was also featured on the front page of the Que Pasa newspaper. Industries for the Blind has trained and retrained 52 individuals, and they also hired trainers for this project. Some of you are going to be attending their open house this Wednesday at 2 p.m. It's not too late to join if you'd like to, if you just let Jamie Waldeck know if you'd like to join as well. PEA has hosted a sustainability roundtable as well as 6 other events and launched 3 out of the 5 initiatives that they specifically outlined in their grant application. Crosby Scholars has launched their dashboard. They're going through training right now with parents and students, and they're also working on the language access pieces of the Crosby Scholars dashboard. The one project I did want to bring to your attention out of the 15 is the United Health Centers. There are some updates to what you see on the slide here today. So they have encountered some challenges in entering into a lease at the Southeast Plaza Shopping Center, predominantly because that property has now been sold to JTM Capital. So they were already in negotiations with the previous owner, so they have to go back through that process. They're working with Linville Team Partners Commercial Real Estate and intend on putting a letter of intent, which they will send to us, and hopefully that ball will get moving soon. We do have now, to that second bullet point, we have received all their other documentation. So as soon as that agreement with JTM Capital goes through, we should be ready to execute an agreement. But this is the only one that hasn't been executed to date. So that concludes my presentation on the framework and transformational grants. I would love to hear what you all would expect to see for future presentations, especially on our transformational grantees.
Councilmember Clark, and we're going to limit our comments, y'all. Councilmember Scipio.
Just real quick, I do like a chart, and I like the yellow, green, red stop sign scenario. I tend to manage by exception. If something's going fine, that's great. It's the ones that aren't going fine that we should be more concerned about. We do have limits on when we want the money spent by and we want the programs implemented. And I don't know if you personally need to come up here, but if we could get that regularly, maybe quarterly or semi-annually would be very good. Thank you. And it looks good. I like it.
Very good. Councilmember Scipio.
Yeah, I love this report. It makes me feel comfortable about how our money is being spent. I would love to have, perhaps on a quarterly basis, of these agencies that are getting funds, just how impactful they believe they are in addressing the poverty among the clients that they are serving. These ARPA dollars were for our qualified census tracts, which are the poorest people in our community. I like to know just how impactful this investment is. Just a statement would be good for each agency.
Thank you. This is for information. This is an update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oliva. City Clerk, please call the next item.
Item G2, information on the lofts at Motor Road, affordable housing development.
Ms. Tony.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Adams and members of the committee and City Council. Okay, before you is an information item for today. We'll come back next month with an actual council action. But this is an opportunity for us to move the needle on affordable housing development in our community. The Lawson Motor Road will be located in the Northeast Ward. Winfield Properties is the developer by our special legislation that we can select to work on this property. And so as you see pictured here, the proposal is for 216 units of multifamily development. The community amenities include a community building with laundry facilities, a community center, and a common area for resident use and community activities. Additionally, the community will include sidewalks, benches, a playground, a picnic shelter with grilling area, and each apartment will be equipped with a range hood dishwasher, frost-free refrigerator, pantry, central cooling, heating, and outside storage. 10% of these units will be ADA compliant and have roll-in showers. And so this proposed development will consist of 7 3-story buildings, and as I mentioned, 216 units. 36 will be 1-bedroom, 96 2-bedrooms, and 84 3-bedroom units. And they will follow our affordable housing policies and Housing Justice Act in this proposal. So the estimated total development costs will be $41 million. And so our support in this would be $6.5 million. And as a gap financing for the project, that does translate down to the $30,000 per door that you all have indicated was your sweet spot for affordable housing and providing that gap financing. The dollars will come from our ARPA replacement dollars that we have for affordable housing. I just want to acknowledge this was a team effort. So Aaron King, Angela Carmen, our attorney, and obviously led by Councilmember Barbara Burke to initiate this. And Davis Ray, the developer, is here as well, and he can answer any additional questions that may arise. I also want to acknowledge our newish housing development manager. This is Tanya Skillman. Won't you wave or stand or something? And she's been supportive in this space as well.
Thank you. I'm going to allow Councilmember Clark to make his comment or question. Then we're going to have a motion. Not a motion, because we don't need it. But again, any questions that any of you have, anything that you can think of, you got time. But we're not doing that today.
I appreciate you letting me speak today, Chairman.
You are welcome.
Very quickly, this is a good example when you do present it that we show how much money's in that pool, ARPA pool. I think we just saw it. I think it was 16 million or something. But anyway, the bigger comment in reference to a comment that Ms. Adams made earlier, I think it would be appropriate to put a required start date and completion date in here, maybe more completion date. I don't want to make it too tight, but I would think maybe a 2-year period or something ought to be more than enough time. I haven't built 216 apartments. I don't know how long that takes, but you can get up with the developer on that. Yes. And also, I've had limited dealings with these folks, but they're very reputable, and I'm glad we're doing a project with them. Thank you.
Councilmember, do I get you before I get the council member?
She may say what I'm going to say in terms of the time. Okay.
Attorney Carmen.
Okay. I was going to say in the contract, based upon that legislation, we've been using a 24-month period. So.
Great minds think alike.
Councilmember Burke.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to the team, everyone that was mentioned that has been working on this initiative. This is big. This is huge. 216 units to help with our affordable housing crisis. So I'm excited. I'm happy about it. I know that we have a number that was set by the mayor for 750 affordable housing units each year. So this puts a huge dent in that. As we've been talking with Davis Ray, the reputable builder, we are calling this phase 1. We hope that we will have some additional phases in this location. And as far as the 24-month period, just like we've said for all other developments, sometimes things are a little slower. We've been saying because of COVID, supply and demand. So let's continue to say the same thing with this project that we've been saying with all other projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tony. City Clerk, would you call the next item? And that item, City Attorney, do we need to may have a motion to pull it, or we just pull it and leave it in committee?
You can leave it in the committee with the consensus of committee members.
On G3.
Item G3, resolution authorizing the purchase of modular homes in support of the city's goal to increase affordable housing supply.
Staff just needs to do additional work on this item.
That's fine. Hold it in committee.
We're good. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item G4, consideration of items related to funding to Forsyth County for homeowner rehabilitation and home buyer assistance programs.
Ms. Tony.
Yes, good afternoon again. This item is before you. Last fall, I believe you probably heard me talk about our rehab program a little bit and some of the issues. We've since gotten with the county, who has been doing, administering the home program in the unincorporated areas of the county. And so we discussed about them possibly also doing rehab work inside the city limits. And so they are definitely open to that. They looked at their resources and determined and sent us a proposal on what this would look like, how much it would cost for them to actually administer that program inside the city limits. And so we would use community development block grant funds or home. That would be our for the principal resident at or below 80% of the AMI and up to the city's minimum housing code. And so the loans will be around $65,000 up to $80,000. We know that the cost of rehab continues to grow, and so we want to cap it at $80,000 versus our $60,000, I think, that we did internally. And so there will be a down payment program, just an opportunity for rehab and home buyers assistance that the county would administer on our behalf. We would do this as a 3-year contract. The reason to do it multi-year is because they would need to hire additional staff support and just to create some stability for the staff and not do it annually as they're trying to hire people. We do have the resources to cover this through CDBG and home funds, and we think that this would be a great partnership with the county.
Thank you. I guess, and it may be in here in the car somewhere, how is this? I think the council needs to get some more information before Monday.
Okay.
How is this different from what we're already doing? And how many rehabs has the county done in the county? And if they will allow us to know, what was that cost, when they did them? I'm all about this, but I also need to know, the cost of doing this when it comes to pulling the funds out of CDBG and home down for this, even though we were doing it, but also the deliverables, as well as the program costs, including 2 additional staff. Again, we already got issues with finding people for various things, and I'm wishing us the best on this, but is this the 2 staff that the county has to hire?
Yes.
It's on them?
It's on them.
But it could result in a delay, could it not? And what, you don't have to answer any of that. The city clerk and staff got the minutes, whatever. How would this set up for us if they're not able to hire the staff? What's plan B? Again, we need to see how many people are already in the pipeline. They either are in the middle of a rehab, they're signed the paperwork to get a rehab, there's issues with the rehab, and we taken care of those. I think those are important things that this council needs to have between now and Monday, if it's okay.
Okay.
Okay?
Quick question.
Yes, Councilmember Clark, Councilmember Scipio.
There's a second part of this, which is a down payment assistance. Is there any indication of what the split is between rehab versus down payment? The down payment interests me because it does allow home ownership.
That's right. I can get you a breakdown before Monday.
That's fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Councilmember Scipio.
So, Ms. Tony, for clarification, is this proposal for Forsyth County to do the majority of any homeowners' rehabilitation that for the city?
Yes, Councilmember Scipio, that is absolutely right. We put a pause on our program for the city. We had a waiting list. We are going to revisit that just to make sure that people that were on the waiting list are served or kind of moved up and see who's still interested. And then we're also going back on some of the rehab that need to be revisited. So our internal staff has a lot to do, but we are not accepting new applications at this time. And so when we partner with the county will be taking on all new rehab cases and actually probably helping us with our existing list as well.
Okay, and then just for clarification, if this is right, the PBO that's attached to this is for $500,000 and not the $1.5 million. Is that correct, or is the $1 million coming from somewhere else?
Okay, so the total is $1.5 million. Most of that will go actually to help homeowners. So it's $1,050,000. I'll go back and look at the PBO. I don't have it in front of me. And so about $450 over a 3-year period will go for the administrative costs.
Yeah, just check and see if that's correct.
Yep.
Thank
Sure will.
Sure.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Just very quickly, I really welcome the county getting more involved in housing.
Yes.
This is an opportunity for us to work together. I think that's very positive on many levels. For years, historically, they have been the ones who have run the first-time home buyer assistance programs. Their expertise in that is deeper than ours.
That's right.
So I'm all for this. We need to partner with them more. This is good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And also, and then I'd like to have a motion. Also, what are the clawbacks or whatever is built into our agreement with them? Customer satisfaction. Are we going to be the ones standing in front of the camera, or are they? I need to understand what happens if they don't get the job done. How do we ensure that our citizens are taken care of in the fashion that they are not, known to be taken care of? This is like a new business over here taking over my account, and I don't know them like I know Susie when I call and tell them I'm going to be late.
Right.
So if you can get us something between now and Monday on that contract, because it's a contract.
Right.
Okay? Could I have a motion, please?
Move approval.
Give me the motion, then I'll get to Councilmember
Move
Clark.
approval, G4.
Second.
I have a first and a second motion. Be prepared to vote when the screen comes up. All those in favor, vote by saying yes. All those opposed, no. Councilmember Larson.
I just had one question. Does this include the TURN program that the city has been operating?
No, it
So
does
it's
not.
separate, it's still under operating, will still be operating. People that are on the TURN list will not be affected by this
That's right.
merger.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tony. Next item, please, City Clerk.
Item
Ms. Tony,
G5.
you might as well just stand up there because you own the day.
Item G5, consideration of items related to funding for Habitat for Humanity housing improvements.
Thank you, Chair Adams. This item before you is a project budget ordinance that covers funding for Habitat home enhancements. As you recall, in March, you all approved the conveyance of 4 city-owned lots to Habitat in the Cleveland Avenue area for the purpose of building affordable housing. And so on those vacant lots, Habitat intends to construct new homes. This is in the Northeast Ward. And so they have developed a design that enhances their typical structure to include garages. And so they've submitted a rendering for a garage. The additional cost per garage will be up to $20,000. And so since there's 4 homes, that will be a total of $80,000. The funding source for this will be from this Northeast Ward pot, the $500,000 that was discussed a little bit earlier. That money was designated for land acquisition and housing revitalization. And so this was a authorized use for the pot of money that you all earmarked for Northeast Ward revitalization.
Thank you, Ms. Tony. Councilmember Clark.
I have several questions. My first thought when reading this, it was too good to be true that someone can build a house and only need a $20,000 subsidy. We just did $30,000 per apartment a minute ago. I'd like to see their capital stack, how much it's going to cost to build these, and what the levels of whatever to get there. And I'd also like to know, again, what the total cost would be to build it and what they anticipate to sell them for, and if they have any first-time homeowners program to assist in the sale and all that. Just all that information. It'd be nice to see some elevations too.
Okay.
Again, it sounds very good, but I thought the information we provided was a little slim there.
Okay. I guess my question is, I'm glad that we have these community partners, but, and maybe, again, to Councilmember Clark and Council, we just need a little bit more understanding of, we got $500,000 and we're going to add these 4 doors at $80,000. Are we going to just do this a one-time deal, or is that $500,000 every time we find somebody that wants to build a house? We just need to understand how that process is going to work, Ms. Tony, that's all, because we don't want to spend $200,000 or $100,000, well, we already at 80, for doors, for garage doors, and we understand the appearance and the aesthetics of that everybody's home community should be contiguous to, especially with choice going up all over the place. So we just need to understand that, because, again, at the end of the day, we got to answer for it to the community when they say, you buying garage doors, why didn't you use $80,000 to just build another house and maybe come back later and get the garage door attached or whatever? But again, we don't have to discuss, I'm just throwing out where we are, the information, as I've said in recent months, to the staff and the council. This council needs a little bit more meat on the bones when it comes to information, staff. You all have heard me say that, because when it's not in there or none of us call you beforehand, you're going to get asked that at these committee meetings, you're going to get asked that at the council meetings, and it's about information and communication, that's all. We're just trying to get an understanding of when we have to defend the decisions that we make, that's all.
I do want to just clarify, it's 4 houses that Habitat's going to build, and the garages will be $20,000 each.
Yeah, and we got that part.
Okay, I thought you said 1 door for $80,000.
No, 1 door, $20,000.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's a garage door, and that's not the house door.
The garage itself,
Right.
not just a door. The garage, yes.
Anybody got, Councilmember Larson? No. Councilmember Burke.
Thank you. This again,
Councilmember Burke, check your message, remember. This is a matter that you need to be excused
that's
from.
right. You can't.
Yeah.
Councilmember Mundy.
In the CARF, it says Habitat intends to construct, as referenced in Exhibit A. Are we missing an Exhibit A?
Councilmember Mundy, could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, the CARF references an Exhibit A, Habitat has created a housing design that includes garages, but I don't see an Exhibit A.
They did submit a rendering of what that would look like, and if it's missing from the agenda, I'll email it
Okay, thank you.
to you all.
Thank you. That's a good catch, Kathy.
Go ahead. Councilman Clark.
As I said, this could be a great program. It sounds too good to be true. I think once we get all the questions answered and all that, we can make a better decision. I'd like to hold in committee for 1 month till we can get all that information, financial and otherwise.
You're going to hold it.
Okay, are you, but you making a motion to hold it? Do we need that, city attorney?
We do. Let me just remind you all that Habitat has a purchase contract already executed, so they would like to get started as soon as possible and know which design they're going to use. So is there a way for us to get you this information so you can move forward on Monday?
I got to have the capital stack. I want to be absolutely assured that they can build a house and only need a $20,000 subsidy. And if I'm not satisfied with it, we will not vote on it Monday night.
Okay, let us try to get you that information with the understanding that it will be moved forward.
Correct. Is everybody clear on that?
So it's moving forward without a recommendation?
City attorney,
You can move it forward without a recommendation, so it goes on the general agenda for discussion, but we'll try to get you that information between now and Monday.
I'll move that we move it forward without recommendation then.
Second.
it's been moved and probably seconded that this item be moved forward to council without recommendation. Please vote yea or nay as the screen comes up. Thank you, and the motion passes to continue to council on Monday night. Next item, please, City Clerk.
Item G6, information on including employees hired between January 1, 2023 and June 30th, 2023 to the retention incentive paid to city employees in July of 2023.
Dr. Barnett.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, members of the committee, and members of the council. As a point of personal privilege, I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce Will Crandall. He is the city's new deputy HR director. You all may see him before you on Monday. If our items come off of the consent agenda on Monday, I will be out of town with my family, but I will leave you all in the very capable hands of Mr. Crandall.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Will. So the item that you all have before you is information that comes to you from a conversation that we had back in June. In June, you asked for us to bring you information on what it would cost for us to include employees that were hired between January 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2023 into the retention incentive that was paid to employees that were on staff before January 1st, 2023. So per this item, the total estimated financial impact will be $335,175, and that includes a payout to 180 full-time employees and 65 part-time and or temporary employees. That number may have changed since we submitted this item, as some of those employees may have either left or no longer be in temporary service with us, but that will be approximately the estimated financial impact, including the employee benefits factor.
Dr. Barnett, thank you so much. As you and I have had conversations, as well as Mr. Taylor and I, thank you. That again, in the new world of work, you can't tell everybody that we value you and we appreciate you and we thank you every day for doing your job. And we're all a team, one team, but then you pay some of the team members perks, incentives, merits, whatever. And then you got this group over here, because they're not full-time, they don't get to get anything. And as you know, I felt very passionate about this, that we need to understand again that when you treat people equally, they will be your publicist and PR person to the community, as well as our great marketing and communications department. And people will come based on family members and friends as to whether I want to work for them. And if we don't treat people equally, then they're going to badmouth us all over the internet, social media, family, the community. But I want to hear anything from the council. Councilmember Clark.
My concern with this is that we're not treating people equally. somebody could have worked the entire year of 2022 and got $1,000. Somebody could have come to work June 29th of 2023 and worked one day, and they get $500.
Could you help
I think it needs to be prorated in some respect. I thought it was.
the prorated conversation that we had, Mr. Taylor and Mr. Barnett?
And we can bring information back on what the prorated number would be. We just have to get a little bit of clarity as to whether we're prorating the full amount or prorating the partial amount that we've got here. But we can consider that and bring that back as an information item as well.
Well, my recommendation, prorate the full amount, understanding that it's over 12 months. So somebody that worked the whole 6 months would get 50%. Somebody that worked 3 months would get 25%.
Okay.
And I know that's a little bit of trouble, but you look like you need something to do.
He needs more.
We can take care
Well,
of it.
he's got an assistant deputy now, so he's got.
But I think that would be fair. Everybody gets treated on the number of days they work.
Councilmember Scipio.
I want to just disagree with you on that because we still would have inequities if we didn't prorate the gift to everyone based on their years of service. So I think you get into a different situation. What is the policy? We want to give people a gift that says, we want you, we recognize your sacrifice, and that gift is a certain amount no matter what your service time is. And I don't think we should prorate these new people just because we hired them, because the date we gave was an artificial date anyway, about the years of the date of employment. So I think there's a greater inequity if you go around trying to prorate it based on time for the people we didn't recognize, but we didn't prorate it based on time for all the other employees. So I think it's give them what everybody else got. That to me is equity,
And this
regardless of the years of service.
Thank you, Councilor. This is an information item, and it gives, again, staff an opportunity. If you can't think of what your question or concern is now, please call, email them. They've been working on this since we gave out the initial back, Mr. Taylor, when? June, July?
July 1st.
Mayor Pro Tem, we've been working on this for about 2 or 3 months as far as trying to think through the various options. And so this was a means of actually simplifying the process to consider those individuals that may have worked an average of 5 to 6 months out of the fiscal year.
And what I can ask you to do again is, we look forward to hearing from you guys vis-a-vis email to at least give us an opportunity to read it before it's put on the agenda for the next meeting or committee meeting, because this is for information only. But we want our employees to know, again, that we appreciate all of them. And again, equally appreciate them, but we need to understand how we're going to level this out. You know how I feel about it. When you brought it to me that we need to maybe prorate, I'm like, prorate what? You know, if a person comes to work every day, and I understand our finance chair's concern, and we're going to work on it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and welcome aboard.
One last question. How much money does the
Clark.
person get that comes to work July the 1st of this year?
They would not be eligible under this revised provision.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please. City Clerk, last one.
Item G7, information update on the Choice Neighborhood Initiative progress and budget status.
Mr. Hunter, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. I'm here to be speaking on the Choice Neighborhood Project. We're going to give you an update on the development progress. We're going to talk about the neighborhood improvement program. And we're also going to be talking about the relocation program as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Where do I go to present here? All right, fantastic. So as you all are well aware of, in 2020, we received the Choice Neighborhood Grant from Housing and Urban Development, aka HUD, for $30 million to create 406 new mixed-use units in the East and Northeast Ward. Phase 1 is located at the former Brown School Elementary site at 1125 Highland Avenue, and the remainder of the homes are located at Cleveland Avenue Homes. Construction of Phase 1 was begun in October of 2022, and that is 81 units, and it is scheduled to be completed in the spring of 2024. Pre-leasing will begin in December of 2023 or January of 2024. I do have members of McCormick Barron Salazar present to answer any questions about that, and they will be talking about the development progress. In regards to the budget, the total project budget right now, including Phase 1 that is already financially closed, is around $180 million. That is a little higher than what we came to you with in January of this year, which was around $167 million. So the financial gap has increased. And we will be discussing how we are looking to financially close that gap and what we may need in the future. So I'll talk about the first component of the Choice Neighborhood Project, the neighborhood update, and that is what the city is responsible for. So with the help of the community feedback, we determined some things that they needed to see in their community. A variety of housing types, improved and new amenities, residential and economic investment marketability, and increased public safety and community connectivity. So how we've been engaging with the residents, we've been working with our partner Urban Strategies Incorporated, who's located inside of Cleveland Avenue Homes. They host monthly resident meetings, and they also host a number of other meetings where we get feedback from the residents and the communities about what they want to see and how we can begin implementation of some of these community improvements. So some of the community improvements is the first one that's starting is the home improvement program. This program is specifically for the exterior of homes only, and they are owner-occupied homes in the CNI boundary. We set that CNI boundary when we applied for this grant, and so no homes that are not owner-occupied, that are not located within this boundary are eligible for this program. And again, everything is exterior only. We've been working with vetted contractors that has a good track record with the city. We meet with them on a regular basis to get their feedback on the program to make sure that they think this is something that they could fulfill and that's something that could be successful in the ongoing future. So a little bit more about that home improvement program and what the selection criteria looks like. They have to be located in the CNI target area, and they have to be owner occupied. Some of the improvements are replacing and repairing roofs, repairing siding or mortar, repairing doors, windows, walkways, doing some landscaping, or doing some painting and installation of storm doors. These are just some of the exterior improvements that are permitted in this program. But again, everything is exterior only, and all of this is funded by grants. We've been in conversation with some home inspectors as well to come around to the homes that have been selected for this program to get the homes inspected, to give us a full scope of work for homes. And we work with the homeowners to determine what is their most needed improvements on their homes as well. So I'm going to turn it over to McCormick Barron Salazar to talk about the development progress, and we'll take questions after everyone presents.
Thank you, Samuel. Good evening. My name is Sandra Martin Seals. I'm a Senior Vice President with McCormick Barron. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to present to the members of the committee, the members of the council, Mayor Pro Tem Adams. We are so thrilled to be here to provide an update on this major neighborhood transformation, and with housing being the main catalyst. So what you see in front of you is Phase 1 of the Winston-Salem CNI. I am happy to say that the weather has been kind to us since we started construction in October 2022.
It wasn't then, though.
No, it was not. The general contractor, Frank L. Blum Construction, has been doing an amazing job, and they are on schedule. Phase 1 will consist of a total of 81 mixed-income apartments that will range in bedroom sizes from 1 bedrooms up to 4-bedroom apartments. And again, the largest percentage of those apartments will be affordable for families at the lower tier of the income bracket, and then there's a small percentage of those apartments that are affordable to families who are just unrestricted, because we don't want to send a message to the community that if you're doing well, you're not welcome in this community. This is a mixed income neighborhood, mixed income community for all, and all are welcome. Construction, as Samuel has shared, is expected to be completed spring 2024. We are starting the lease-up process. So residents have expressed an interest. They're on a list because, as you all recall, residents of the Cleveland Avenue homes have the first right to return to the new community before anyone else is allowed to return. So we've started those conversations with the residents, and we've also started building a waiting list for other members of the community who are interested in moving in. And I also have two fellow colleagues here, in fact, from McCormick Barron Management, Gifty and Tyra, if you all want to wave. And they're here today because they are starting to interview and hire locally for the management team and to help us start with the lease-up process. So that is going really well. And before I shift to the on-site phases 2 through 4, I want to say thank you. Thank you to the council. Thank you to all of you. We would not have been able to launch the first phase of this without you. As you all know, when we applied for the C&I grant, it was before COVID, it was before the pandemic. The numbers that we had, the construction estimates that we had presented were off. The economy, everything bottomed out, and by the time we started construction, we were looking at budgets that were the likes that we had not seen before. And if it was not for this committee, not for the commitment of the city, we would not have been able to close that first phase. So on behalf of the community, we want to say thank you. So also, as Samuel mentioned, as we move on from phase 1 and we look at the on-site, which is phases 2 through 5, so on that site will be the remaining 325 mixed income, again, mixed bedroom size apartments. The numbers are continuing to increase. We had hoped we would see some slowing, and we have seen some slowing, but we have not seen the drop that we had hoped to see with construction. And as luck would have it, we've now been hit with higher insurance rates. We have higher interest rates, which impacts the amount of debt that we're able to collect, and so we are impacted. We are, of course, not giving up. We are always eternally optimistic. And so we're continuing to entertain and explore and to seek every single possible opportunity to fill the increasing gap as we move towards phases 2, 3, 4, and 5 on site. Some of these strategies we have presented before you previously, and we will continue to do that. We were fortunate to be able to receive an award of HUD C&I supplemental dollars, because we had said to HUD, hey HUD, we applied for this grant pre-pandemic. We got a $30 million award for this community. Other applicants who applied just a year later were getting awards of upward of 40 and 50 million. That's right. That's our gap. I mean, had we had 40 or 50 million, we would be looking at a totally different picture. So HUD did award us an additional $5 million. We will apply to them again. We are lobbying them again for additional C&I funds. We have chased ARPA funds. We've had some success there. And we're also pushing the general contractor and looking at all kinds of value engineering to figure out, are these the best materials? Yes, these are the materials that we had planned for, but are these the most cost effective? We want to make sure that we get the quality that we're expecting, but we're constantly asking, is this the best price? And we'll continue to do that. We've also been meeting with the state, which has been an amazing partner. And I should have also announced we just received an additional award of tax credits for the 3rd phase. But we've met with the state and asked them for more credits. Is there any way that we can get more credits? Other projects, similar projects, receive a larger amount of credits than the C&I. And what the state had said to us is, well, since we're setting aside funds across all of the phases, we're going to cap it. But we're asking them to reconsider it because, again, this is neighborhood transformation. The housing is a catalyst to that transformation, and we need this to happen. So we're asking them to look at it differently. So I'm not going to go through the whole list of strategies, but what we wanted to share with you this evening is, yes, the numbers have gone up. Yes, we have a gap, but we are continuing to look at all avenues to try to fill that gap. And I'm just kind of being a little redundant right here for, again, additional strategies for the future. The city has been wonderful in what you have provided with in terms of support. We may be looking at a request down the line for some CDBG dollars. We're still fine-tuning those numbers. So certainly don't have a request before you today. We really just wanted to give an update. But we may come back with some updated numbers to present to this group.
Sandra,
I'll
could you back
pause.
up a slide, please?
Sure.
That last bullet point. Explain, please.
Yes, I certainly will. So the last bullet point references a change to the overall C&I plan. That is intentionally the last bullet because it is the last option that we really want to explore. Kevin, all of you, we have made a commitment to the community for a total number of units. We've presented plans to the community, and we really don't want to go back on that. But as a last alternative, if we are staring down the barrel of phase 4, and we have a big gap and we can't figure out how to fill it, we may look at reducing the number of units or going before HUD and having a conversation about that. That is not an automatic.
True.
Kevin, his board, Kevin Cheshire with the Housing Authority, there has been a commitment made. So it's on there, it's an option, but it is certainly not our favorite approach, and it is not a guarantee.
I know you remember all of the circle the wagons, all hands on deck Zoom meetings during COVID when we hit, as they say, the COVID began to immediately affect the financial markets of housing, building, businesses. And we figured out how to get phase 1 done, right?
Yes.
And then we started to work on phase 2, okay? We're going to get there.
Yes.
But I must say, I was a part of Hope 6 in Happy Hill, Kimberly. And Mr. Cheshire, you remember it too, when it came down that we had to not finish completely the project that we had committed to our citizens. Again, I respect you adding it as a last bullet point, but as I communicated to all of you 2-3 years ago, all hands on deck. If anything, hopefully we're going to increase more units, but we can't come off that number, so I'm looking for us, you, all of the collaborators to get together. The one thing I think we need, and I'm not ashamed to say it, we need to continue to advocate to the county to give up some of the money. Winston-Salem is over 2/3 of the county. We represent really the county. And it appears that because they don't want to get in the housing lane, but we're getting in it with them with the rehabs. But I think that is a conversation, Councilmember Clark and others at this dais and others in the listening audience or viewing. Some of our leaders need to get together and start to make that a real appeal. To me, that bullet point needs to be at the top, because that's low-hanging fruit if we can just get them to understand that we can no longer do this by ourselves. The issue is too big. It's just too big. So you can continue. I apologize for digressing, but.
Thank you. And we have, as you know, we've met with the county several times, walking them through the CNI, and we will continue to do so.
And we will continue as well. We'll use whatever collaborators and partners we have, whether on the federal level, state level, community-wise, businesses, to help us get their buy-in to this, hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to just add one more slide, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I want to turn it over to Tanya Atkins from Urban Strategies to provide an update on all the amazing work that they're doing and working with the families. So kind of going back to phase one and turning back to the positive, there is so much in a name, and there's so much in the identity of a community. And as we are looking at coming close to construction completion on phase one, we are at that point where, what is the community going to be called? What does the residents want it to be called? How does that tie to the identity, the rich history, the legacy? So we have, reached out to the community, the housing authority. We came up with certain terms and ideas, and have started those conversations on naming the neighborhood, and then also naming the residential community. So there's the neighborhood naming, there'll be the naming for phase one, and then there'll be a naming for the on-site. So again, just kind of letting you all know, you may hear more from us, asking for your input. You all represent, many of you represent the community and have been there through thick and thin, so we do think, obviously your input is very, very important, but we've started that and, received some really amazing ideas.
Councilmember Clark.
I'm looking up a number real quick. Yep. What is your current funding gap with all the money included so far? The $5 million we got from Washington a couple of months ago, the extra whatever from the state. What is our current gap?
The current funding gap for the remaining phases 2 through 5 is approximately $50 million.
Okay. I chair the finance because I'm the guy that's got finance money.
Yes, I remember, yes.
If we take every penny of housing money we have, we might be able to do it. But that means the $6 million project for the 216 apartments we just talked about, gone. Means the $500,000 we got set aside, gone. We got 16 million, 17 million right now in ARPA. I think the CBDG, whatever, I think it's a couple million a year, Ms. Tony, 2 million a year, whatever. But it would have to take every other ward giving up every housing dollar they have. And even then, I don't know if we would get there.
Because inflation.
This is more than inflation, and I'm not going to point any fingers. But what was the original project, 100 million? We're at 180 now?
The original, before COVID, the original projections were 106 million, pre-COVID.
And that's up from 167 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming, does Hope have to approve the reduction? What do you do if you tell them we're out of money?
HUD.
Or HUD, whoever it is, Hope, what is it, Hope? Anyway,
Hope Grant.
we got Hope HUD does something. I say we, it's Mr. Cheshire back there. Are they, and you folks, are y'all legally obligated to build whatever it is, 406 apartments or whatever?
There is an obligation, yes. For the 406, that's what was presented to HUD. There's also a percentage of what's called, replacement units, which are the number of units that the housing authority had to ensure that residents are able to come back. That number actually is not movable. HUD is, adamant about making sure that those families have a place to live. So
we can get it later, but
yeah, I can get that to you later.
This is an astronomical number, and that's what I'm trying to leave you with. This is not something that we can suddenly go in the back room and find $446 million. It would be every penny of housing we have. It might even have to take the road money for that we normally do repaving with. This is absolutely huge.
It is.
And Hope's not going to get you there. And I think right now you need to be meeting with the HUD people, talking about them. Maybe you build more 2 bedrooms and less 3 bedrooms. This is not my area of expertise, but I know enough about our budget to know that $46 million, and that's on top of, we've already given you 8 or 10 million extra already.
Yes, you have.
Which you were very thankful for, and we were happy to give it. But I think our original gift or pledge was $6 million. Am I doing that right? Something like that?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
and we've already given at least twice that, and now it's $50 million. That's 9 times more. I think y'all need to be in whatever mode you need to get in and get up with HUD and say, listen, guys, and another $5 million check from HUD's not going to do it. That's a little bit over 10%. I'm like you. I was hoping inflation, not only does inflation have to level off, it's got to come back down.
Yeah, it's not.
And I don't think labor's coming back down. Materials might.
Doesn't seem to be.
I think it's time to sit down with HUD and have a real heart-to-heart talk and say, guys, what's the minimum number? I hear what you're saying. It's the replacement number is what they're shooting for. And the ones we just built, these 81, count towards that. But find out what we have to do, because I think it's asking a lot of Ms. Burke to give up every penny she wants to spend in the rest of the neighborhood and all these other folks. It's just tough, and I wish I could tell you that we could do something. I think this city is very creative, but that's a huge number, guys.
And Councilmember Scipio, we want to get to the other presenters.
Really appreciate everything. I know at the beginning of this project, there was so much excitement about investing in Cleveland Avenue homes. And we definitely want to make sure that happens. To the extent of outside investors, has McCormick, Barron, Salazar exhausted outside investors? Because I know we're doing a wonderful job. We have our developers at Metropolitan Village has actually funded that $50 million project with all outside investors. They aren't using any of our city money, which is amazing. And so part of me looks to the developer to help find that money, to help find that gap. Because I'm going to go with Mr. Clark. I'm not going to give up redeveloping East Ward neighborhoods that are desperately in need of revitalization for one project. And I think we have to be sensitive to that too. But I would hope that your company could really put a little bit more effort, energy to find some other investors to make this come to pass.
Thank you.
Real quick.
Councilmember McIntosh, and this is for information only. You'll be hearing more from us, ideas. There'll be some more come to Circle of Wagon meetings. Councilmember McIntosh.
I'd like an estimate of where we are right now and how much money per door the city is obligated for using current figures. Right? I don't need that.
You
right
don't
this
have to
minute.
answer that
I don't
right
need
now.
it this minute.
Let's go get.
And then I'd like to know what I see that the developers capped their developer fee at resulting in $200,000 savings and deferred the developer fee. I'd like to know what the developer fee is in total and how much of a haircut the developer's willing to take on this. Thank you.
And again, this information, and I'm sure I'll be sending you my list as well.
Yes.
But all that's going to help us do is maybe create a strategy that we have to go forward with, whether that's talking to our federal officials, our lobbyists, and whatever. But I want to make sure I hear from the other people that came today before the meeting ends. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and the rest of the City Council. Thank you all for allowing me to talk about the people portion of the CNI project. I'm Tanya Atkins. I'm the Operations Director for Urban Strategies for the Cleveland Avenue Homes community. We do service the people portion, and with that, what I mean by that is that we work with the residents in the Cleveland Avenue Homes community only. That is where we're assigned, and we're working with them throughout the development process, before, during, and after the development process. We occupy 2 units in Cleveland Avenue Homes every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. There's a total team of 8 of us there. It's myself. We have a family support specialist manager, some family support specialists, an education specialist, and mobility specialists, and outreach workers. What we want you all to walk away from this is knowing that Urban Strategy, as well as the rest of the CNI project, is committed to working with the residents in that community to provide them with the tools they need to help stabilize and/or improve their housing situations. We want to ensure that all of our residents are stable and thriving, and all means all for us. Here you'll notice that since we've been there since 2020, we've worked with over 300 households. And as you all are probably aware, they're mostly headed by single females.
Yeah.
They have worked incredibly hard to increase their annual average household income from $8,135 when this project started to around $21,000. And so for us, that's incredible. That means that some of the programs and initiatives that you all are participating with us is working. We're working to increase that income for all of our residents. I want to just give you a quick narrative. So we had a resident that was volunteering with us, and she was volunteering with us so good that when we had an outreach worker position part-time, we hired her. You know, we said, you're doing the work, we're going to hire you. She started working with us. Then she also went to Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods, and so she got a part-time job as their resident ambassador. So she's still, really working with us. Well, I'm glad to say that now she's a full-time career violence interrupter with Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods. Woo! So we know that it is working, and we're super excited about that. We also have had 2 residents to purchase homes. One is through the Habitat program, and the other one is through private markets. So we're encouraging our residents to purchase homes. If they want to realize the American dream, we're helping them with that as well. And I also want to overemphasize the support that we're receiving from the Housing Authority. We had 2 citizens that were homeless and unemployed. And so they reached out to the Housing Authority. They not only gave them residence in Cleveland Avenue homes, they were also able to connect them with jobs. So they're actually working on building their new homes. So we're super excited about the fact that when we all come together, we can find ways to help our residents and uplift them out their current situations. So this is just I went back to Sandra. So this is just a few examples of, kind of the things that we've been doing in the community. Here, one of our principal education partner is the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. They're working with us not only to provide the data, but to help our children to be academically successful. One of our measures in this process is we want to make sure that our children graduate on time, college, or career ready. And with that, for the previous 2 school years, we had 100% graduation rate. Now, we slipped a little bit last year, but we've already gone back and looked at different strategies, and we're hoping to be back on point for the 23-24 school year. So what we do is we follow our residents throughout the city. So what we do is temporarily give them a place until the new community is built. And we want to know where they're going. So where did you go? And so for us, the most important thing here to note is that 68.25% of them decided that they were going to stay in the 27105 zip code. The 2 reasons they provided was, 1, they were close to their families. They didn't want to leave their families. And 2, the Cleveland Avenue Homes community is home to them. They didn't want to move away from that community, and they were getting more and more excited about the new Brown School, the old Brown School site going up. So 68.25% of them actually remain in the community. The only thing that we have here is we only had 4.76% of them to move out of the state. So most of our residents are going to still remain inside the city of Winston-Salem, and we're excited about that because we want to transition them to, and as Sandra said, we give them that first return so they can come home to their new, beautiful community. Thank you all so very much for allowing me to talk about the great work that you all are assisting us with doing in the community and uplifting the residents from the Cleveland Avenue Homes community.
Thank you. Do the 2 young ladies, you guys want to have anything to say? You good? Okay, you better prepare, because next time you come, you're going to have to get up and talk, okay? And we are too. Are there any other, Councilmember Burke?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the presentations regarding choice neighborhoods, specifically for what you all are doing for the residents, what you're doing for the community. You're changing lives, and that is important to know how so many people have already benefited from the work that you all are doing. You're investing in people, and that's what it's all about. I really just thank you so much.
All hearts and minds are clear. This meeting is adjourned.